Welcome to the deep dive. You know, George Orwell's 1984, it just paints such a chilling picture, doesn't it? Totalitarian control, O'Brien's whole prophecy about a boot stamping on a human face forever.
It's brutal, really visceral.
It really is. But what if Big Brother didn't actually lose? What if he just evolved? Like one piece we read put it, what if he learned to smile?
That's a fascinating angle.
Yeah, so our deep dive today, it's not just, rereading a classic. We want to explore how control, truth, even like human agency itself, how it's all shifted from Orwell's really stark, brutal vision to these, well, much more subtle, almost seductive, algorithmic ways we're influenced now.
Right.
Was 1984 a warning, a description, maybe both, but also maybe incomplete for understanding the threats we face today in our digital world? Let's try and unpack that.
It's definitely worth unpacking because when 1984 first came out, people grabbed onto it as this Luddill warning, a picture of the absolute worst-case scenario we had to avoid.
Yeah, the ultimate dystopia.
Exactly. But for others, it felt really immediate, like a description of, say, Stalinist Russia, something already happening. And what's interesting from the stuff we looked at is this idea that Orwell was, well, both wrong in its brutality and terrifyingly prescient in its mechanisms.
So, wrong but prescient.
Well, wrong in the sense that maybe the method isn't always that overt boot stamping, but prescient in understanding the core mechanisms of control. He absolutely nailed the raw power of authoritarianism, like with Room 101.
Ah, Room 101.
Yeah, that ultimate symbol of the state just breaking your will through, pure terror, physical trauma. It was the blunt instrument, right? Coercive control at its most raw.
And what an instrument.
Yeah.
The rats, the complete destruction of the self.
Yeah.
It was designed to make you physically sick with fear, primal fear.
Totally.
But the research we've been digging into argues that today, well, the threat's kind of shifted, it's evolved. We're not necessarily facing that same kind of blunt force. Instead, we're seeing something called Algocracy's death by optimization.
Death by optimization. Wow.
It sounds almost harmless, doesn't it? Which, honestly, that's what makes it feel almost more insidious to me.
Exactly. It's described as subtle and pervasive. Think about your credit score. Just this number, calculated constantly, and it dictates if you get a house, a loan, maybe even a job.
Right.
Or think about AI filtering job candidates. It sounds efficient, but it could just be reinforcing old biases, rejecting people before a human even looks at their application.
Or predictive policing, using preemptive digital profiling,
Right.
shaping someone's future based on data before anything's even happened.
It's everywhere.
And this sort of quiet influence, not just about money or jobs, it seeps into the information we see too, like content moderation. Seems helpful, right? Filtering out bad stuff.
Sure.
But it can also subtly silence voices, shape what news you see globally, just by tweaking visibility in your feed. So the sources are basically saying, look, we're not being tortured into compliance anymore. We're being nudged, guided, and influenced through interfaces designed for engagement, compliance, and profit. It's a completely different game. Less confrontational, much harder to pin down.
And that shift from fear to something else is key. In 1984, people were terrified, constant dread of Big Brother, the thought police. That fear forced submission.
Coerced submission.
But now the research suggests fear is optional. Submission hasn't vanished. It's just, well, it's transformed into submission to convenience.
Ah, convenience. The ultimate trade-off, isn't it? The Faustian bargain of our time. We just hand over our data, our preferences, little pieces of ourselves, all for what? Those smooth, frictionless experiences.
Like what?
Oh, face recognition to unlock your phone, one-click ordering, GPS tracking that's supposedly for your safety, personalized recommendations that spookily know what you want.
Free shipping. Can't forget free shipping.
Never. We're choosing this, aren't we? Or at least feels like we are. We're clicking agree.
And that's the paradox, right? Orwell's characters were desperate to escape the telescreen's gaze. But as the sources keep pointing out, you bought your telescreen voluntarily.
Yeah.
You upgrade it every year, carry it everywhere. There's that Dissect data showing what the average person touches their phone over 2,600 times a day.
Wow. That's a lot.
It's constant. So this voluntary surrender, yeah, it feels voluntary, but it's usually wrapped up in terms of service nobody reads. So is it really voluntary? Or just like voluntary in name only?
It feels like the chains are invisible because they're made of stuff we want, stuff that makes life easier, which makes them so much harder to even see, let alone break.
Yeah, it's cleverly designed that way.
It's like we're drawn in because it feels good, efficient almost. necessary now. I remember reading, our phones are basically like slot machines in our
Oh,
pockets.
yeah, the dopamine hits.
Exactly. Those push notifications timed just right to keep us hooked. One source called it an algorithmic velvet noose.
Ooh, I like that velvet noose.
Yeah, you barely feel it tighten.
And if you connect that to the bigger picture of control, it moves beyond just, the government forcing you to do things. In 1984, the party controlled everything overtly space, time, your inner thoughts, through torture.
Right, brute force.
But today, the argument is that this constant visibility, the fact we always have these devices on us, it implies a kind of self-monitoring. It echoes Foucault, right? It's not just external control, it's about internalizing the watcher.
Totally. You see those screen time trackers, right? The recommendation loops guiding what you watch or read next, performance metrics for your steps, your sleep, everything. It builds this kind of digital panopticon.
Where you're not forced to be watched.
No, you're willingly participating. You're optimizing yourself for the system, feeding it data constantly, often without even realizing the extent of it.
Which brings up that huge question. Is this just, optimization, making things efficient?
Yeah.
Or is it really a form of soft control?
And the analysis seems to lean towards soft control, doesn't it?
Yeah, it strongly suggests that. It's this idea of algorithmic authoritarianism. Your agency, your ability to choose, isn't violently crushed like in 1984. It's just slowly, subtly delegated away, one autocomplete at a time.
A quiet surrender. Almost imperceptible.
Exactly.
And that quiet surrender, that constant handing over of our thinking, it also messes with something really fundamental, like language, and eventually our grip on truth itself.
How so?
Well, Orwell's Newspeak.
Right.
That was like a scalpel. Designed to cut away words, simplify language so much that dangerous thoughts became impossible. The goal was literally to narrow the range of thought.
Make rebellion unthinkable by making it unsayable.
Precisely. But today, the research suggests the threat is the exact opposite. It's too much language, a flood, a torrent, a feed.
Information overload.
Totally. It leads to what one source called infospeak, where the sheer volume of stuff, often ripped out of context, fragmented, just dissolves meaning. It all becomes noise.
No.
Competing signals.
And social media algorithms just amplify that, right? They're built for engagement, which means echo chambers, boiling complex ideas down to hashtags. Nuance just dies.
Yeah, I saw those studies showing false news spreads way faster than true news online.
Crazy.
It is. The algorithms reward emotional intensity, not accuracy. Virality wins. And this constant flood, this demand for instant reaction, it just erodes our capacity for deep reading, sustained attention, and nuanced communication.
So it's like a reverse newspeak.
Kind of. Nuance gets killed not by cutting words, but by the sheer demands of the digital attention economy. We end up shaping our language for clicks, not clarity, adapting to the machine.
Which leads us straight to truth. In 1984, the Ministry of Truth controlled reality by just erasing stuff, rewriting history, forcing one single narrative like 2 + 2 = 5.
Right, and when truth is erased that blatantly, you can kind of feel its absence, can't you? You might even search for it because you know something's wrong. You know you're being lied to.
Yeah, there's a void.
But today, it's different. Truth isn't erased so much as it's drowned in noise and competing narratives. It's this infinite sea of alternative facts, conspiracy theories, and personalized realities.
And the argument is that this drowning of truth is arguably more potent and effective.
Why more effective?
Because it makes the whole concept of objective truth feel, meaningless. It leads to truth decay. This constant onslaught of conflicting stories just exhausts you. You lose the capacity, maybe even the will, to figure out what's real.
So the goal isn't even to make you believe a specific lie.
Not always. Sometimes it's just to make you cynical, overwhelmed, indifferent to truth altogether. Orwell's state had one truth for everyone. Today's system offers something maybe more insidious, fluid, personalized truth filtered by click history and behavioral patterns.
My feed isn't your feed. My search results are different. We end up in these filter bubbles, right? Where reality just bends around our past clicks and preferences, and we often don't even notice it happening.
And the analysis we looked at really hammers this point. Infinitely curated truths, tailored to individual biases, are more dangerous than one forced truth.
Because if we can't even agree on basic facts.
Exactly. If true for me is totally different from true for you,
Yeah.
how can you have a real conversation? How can you organize for collective action? It just fragments everything. It stops resistance before it can even start because there's no shared reality to push back against. It's a very subtle, powerful form of that algorithmic authoritarianism.
And maybe the most worrying part of all this, for me anyway, is the observation that many users have stopped thinking critically altogether.
Oof. Yeah.
It's not just laziness, though maybe that's part of it. It feels like something deeper, more systemic, a fundamental shift in how we relate to information and knowledge.
Absolutely. When you can get any answer instantly, why bother with the messy, slow process of actually thinking? It can feel inefficient, unnecessary even.
You see it everywhere. Students plugging questions into AI, not engaging. Professionals using AI reports without checking them. People sharing articles just based on the headline.
Yeah, guilty as charged sometimes on that last one.
We all are, but it represents this outsourcing of cognition, right?
Yeah, we're deferring cognitive effort to algorithms. And that feels like a really profound shift in human agency. Are we letting our core human abilities like independent judgment just atrophy because we're not using them?
That's the scary question, isn't it? As AI gets smarter and smarter, is our own intelligence becoming more artificial, shaped by algorithms, optimized for the machine?
Our agency isn't taken by force. It's just delegated away. One autocomplete, one recommendation at a time. It's so quiet, this erosion. And it makes us more susceptible to manipulation because we don't even realize it's happening. Our own desire for convenience becomes the way we're controlled.
So given all that, what about resistance? I mean, 1984 is so bleak on this front. Winston is utterly broken. He loved Big Brother. Game over. No hope. No outside the system.
Yeah, it's crushingly deterministic. But then you look at, say, cyberpunk fiction, Gibson, Sterling, people like that. There's often still resistance, right? Maybe in the margins. Hackers finding glitches, carving out small spaces of autonomy.
The idea being
You might not win the big war, but you can still subvert things. You can still push back in small ways.
Okay, so how does that map onto today, where power isn't usually crude force, but this algorithmic influence, behavioral modification, digital convenience?
Well, it means resistance probably doesn't look like a big revolution. Not one single uprising. It becomes more like a constant, subtle, maybe even daily act of trying to reclaim your agency.
Like what does that look like?
Well, things like digital literacy, obviously, but also political literacy. Critically engaging with the information you see. And maybe crucially, consciously disengaging sometimes. Stepping out of what one source called the gamified cage of our devices.
You can break from the feed.
Yeah. And using tools like encryption, maybe even digital civil disobedience in some cases. Combining your own privacy habits with actually organizing with other people.
Yeah.
Having shared real-world experiences outside the algorithm.
Okay, so wrapping this up. Big Brother didn't win like Orwell imagined. Not exactly.
Seems like it.
He evolved, learned to smile, convinced us we were free while, scripting our lives one click, one notification at a time. The sources basically say we subscribed, we clicked agree, which makes this velvet algorithmic noose maybe even tougher to escape than Room 101's brute force.
It's a chilling thought, and it really poses that core question for us, doesn't it? Maybe the biggest act of resistance now against this algorithmic control is just the simple, slow, difficult act of thinking for ourselves, carefully, independently.
Especially in an age designed to make that very thing seem unnecessary or inefficient. So, in a world where convenience is everything, where objective truth feels like it's dissolving, can we actually recognize these subtle chains, these chains made from our own desires? Or do we just keep scrolling, clicking, adapting, optimizing ourselves into a cage we built and walked into willingly until it's the only reality we know?
Because that boot stamping on a human face forever, maybe it just became the notification buzzing in your pocket.
Always there.